Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories of the hour. President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer entered Chequers for their meeting after a 15-car motorcade escorted Trump from Marine One. The two leaders will hold talks before a joint news conference later today. Israel opens a new 48-hour route for civilians to leave Gaza City as its ground offensive intensifies, with the death toll now above 65,000. Hundreds of thousands remain trapped, fearing dangers on the road, starvation in the south, and permanent displacement. Hollywood blasts the White House for attacking free speech after ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel's talk show under regulatory pressure. The move follows Kimmel's comments on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shabani arrives in Washington today, the first such visit in over 25 years. He will meet US lawmakers on lifting sanctions as Damascus seeks reintegration and pursues security talks with Israel. Teachers, rail workers, medics and students strike across France in a nationwide protest against President Emmanuel Macron's austerity plans. Unions demand more spending on public services, higher taxes on the wealthy and a reversal of pension reforms. Thai troops fire gas and rubber bullets at Cambodian villagers in a disputed border zone, injuring at least 29 people, including monks. It is the most serious violence since cross-border fighting was halted in July. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan sign a mutual defense pact, deepening their security partnership amid regional tensions after Israel strikes on Qatar. The Saudi official says the deal is comprehensive, covering all military means. World leaders get ready to gather in New York next week for the UN General Assembly, dominated by President Trump's return, the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, and nuclear tensions with Iran. Secretary General Antonio Guterres warns the world is in uncharted waters. Now we start this hour in the Middle East, where the Palestinian Health Ministry has released its latest daily update on the casualties resulting from Israel's ongoing war on Gaza. According to the report, at least 79 Palestinians were killed in Israeli attacks have been brought to hospitals, while 228 others have been wounded. These figures bring the overall death toll to more than 65,000 people, with nearly 166,000 people reported to be injured. The ministry has also confirmed that many individuals remain trapped under the rubble of buildings destroyed in Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, Palestinians are fleeing Gaza City after Israeli forces ordered its residents to evacuate southward. Many are making the journey on foot, some carrying whatever belongings they can, while others pull carts stacked with their possessions. The Israeli military states that its offensive to take control of Gaza City is part of a broader plan to eliminate Hamas for good, and that it has opened a new route for civilians to leave the city. However, conditions remain dire and many fear permanent displacement. We are now joined by Ali Mohammed Abushbak. He is an independent Palestinian researcher and he joins us live from Cairo in Egypt. Ali, thank you very much for joining us as always. Ali, 65,000 people now have been declared dead by the Gaza-run health ministry. A lot of critics of this say that these numbers are not to be trusted. This is due to the Gaza Health Ministry being Hamas-run. What are your thoughts on those statements? Over 65,000 people being declared by that ministry now.
Thank you, Thomas, for having me. The thing is, the number is not confirmed yet because there is several of civilians under the rubble and several of corpses under the rubble, and there is no doubt around 1,000 civilians are missed. Up to now, one of my friends, his father, since the beginning of the war, they don't have any information. Either he's in Israeli prison, jail, or he's missed, or he died, or nothing. And this is one of the most tragic things. If you don't know one of the part of your family, he's alive or he's arrested or he's died, you don't know. I mean, it's a more complicated. So 65,000, I mean, it's not confirmed. As I mentioned, there is a several of corpse and the remain body under the rubble. Thomas, the situation on the ground in the Gaza city, it's completely dire because of there is a blackout in Gaza city after the cut of the internet and the communication because of the Israeli systematic bombardment, the telecommunication and the internet and the infrastructure of the internet in the Gaza city. High-rise building also have been bombed. According to Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor, they confirmed that Israel isolated more than 8,100 civilians from the international community and from the international world. That make it more complicated, and it's confirmed that Israel deliberately and systematically trying to silence and shut the voice of the desperate civilians on the Gaza city, while several of them, they are stuck in Gaza city. Most of them, they are trying to flee Gaza city because of the Israelis' offensive and relentless bombardment near their neighborhood. Thomas, the thing is, Israel since yesterday focused on several of areas, especially in southwest part of Gaza, Tal al-Hawa neighborhood, several of Israeli bombardment. And similar, according to Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor, they confirmed Israel used a report, explosive report, to bombard the area. More than 5 reports have been exploded in the Tal al-Hawa neighborhood. Also, Israel focused on the Sheikh Ridwan neighborhood as well as a Shata refugee camp neighborhood also. So the things is on the ground, it's offensive. We have seen several of that a Palestinian hospital in Gaza received several of injury and the civilian who got killed. By going back to your question about we can rely on that, why Hamas should increase the number despite the international community silence and doesn't value the Palestinians' life. We can mention the Edward Said Orientalism, that the international community put the Eastern people in the level under the Western people. So the value of the Palestinian civilians, no one given care. There is several of more than 3,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli present. No one giving any attention.
Ali, I am sorry to interrupt you. We do stay with us. We have further updates, this time diplomatic. We move over to Europe for some statements from Spain's Attorney General. And he has announced that the country will probe alleged human rights violations in the Gaza Strip, assisting the International Criminal Court as it seeks arrest warrants for Israeli leaders over accusations of war crimes. The investigation team will focus on gathering evidence related to violations of international human rights law in Gaza, which will then be made available to relevant authorities. The investigation comes amid mounting international pressure on both Israel and Hamas over the ongoing conflict in Gaza. We're once again joined by Ali Mohammed Abushbak to discuss Spain's statements there. Ali, this comes from mounting pressure from Spain, not just from its Attorney General, but of course from the Spanish government as well. They have labelled what Israel's doing as a genocide. They've of course earlier on recognised the Palestinian state. They have said that they will not even take part in the Eurovision Song Contest if Israel will participate. Can you give us a bit of analysis on the way Spain has acted towards the Israeli government since this war has begun, especially in the last few months?
Thomas, the thing is, there is a development in the perspective of the international community and the leaders, especially with regard this war. And most of the international confirmed that there is a war crime in Gaza, but on the ground there is no an action. Spain, they are studying to impose a sanction on Israel with regard the Israelis military and the thing and the trade also. But that's not enough, especially we are talking now about Netanyahu is under the international arrested warrant for the war crime, according to the International Criminal Code. But up to now, Benjamin Netanyahu is free. So Israel is acting with impunity, and there is a no punishment. Also, France is going to recognize the Palestinian hood, and they are confirming that the war situation in Gaza Strip, but also Benjamin Netanyahu still using the airspace of the France. I mean, despite he's also arrested warrant for the criminal code. So that's nothing. There is the duality. I mean, the duality and double standard with the Palestinian and Israel. This will not do any change. With regard to Spain, maybe it will make a change, make several of Western countries following their lead to support the human rights, especially we are talking about civilians whose casualties in Gaza, children and women. They must to protect the human rights and the morale of the human rights and the international law. Otherwise, it will be like a jungle. It's not systematic and it's not organized by international law and human rights.
Ali Mohammed Abushbak, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the programme. For our next story, we move over to Europe, where Austria's National Security Council convened to discuss the recent Russian drone incursions into Polish airspace. The meeting focused on the violation of European Union airspace and growing concerns over hybrid threats. Austria's Defence Minister, Claudia Tanner, also called for faster purchases of long-range air defence systems to counter such incidents. Meanwhile, Russia has denied targeting Polish territory during the attacks, claiming the drones were aimed at Russian military facilities. In response to the breach of Polish airspace, Poland's Defence Minister travelled to Kyiv to seek Ukraine's expertise in drone warfare. Now, we're joined by our guest, Major General Gigi Davidi. He's a global strategic defence expert and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General, for joining us here on the programme. Pleasure to have you. Major General, of course, this happened initially around just over a week ago now, a significant event when it happened. How significant was this drone breach of Polish airspace purely from a military standpoint? Does it amount to a direct test of NATO's red lines?
Absolutely, Thomas. There's no doubt about it. When you send the drones into the neighboring country airspace, it is taken as a hostile act because it implies infringement of the sovereignty of that nation. Whether you violate borders on the ground or you violate airspace, it is considered as a hostile act. And as European Union member of NATO, they have the Article 5. If there is infringement of airspace for any one country, it is taken as infringement of the whole European space. And this cannot be taken lightly because, to a military eye, this cannot be just an oversight as an error. It is a well-intended, I feel, a move which definitely would test the reactions of the NATO countries and also test their red lines. So I think that what the actions the European Union members are taking is in the right direction. In fact, Poland has invoked the Article 4 and sequel to that. There were these consultations which are taking place in Austria, and to that extent they are also anxious and concerned that in case such future incursions take place, they'll have to respond. And the response could be also in the modernization and also augmenting, revamping their air defense, which are already the issues on the agenda. So all I can say is that such instances cannot be taken lightly by any nation, and NATO and European countries are responding as they should. And in case such incursions do take place again, it will mean a serious escalation of the security situation in Europe or in any particular country. Thomas.
Yes, Major General, do stay with us. We have further updates from the Ukrainian crisis. Dmitry Kozak, a longtime aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin and one of the few senior officials opposed to the war in Ukraine, has resigned from his post as the Kremlin's deputy chief of staff. Russian media reports say his resignation has been accepted, with September the 19th set as his last day in office. Kozak, who reportedly warned Putin in 2022 about the consequences of a full-scale invasion, is now said to be considering a move into business. Earlier this year, he presented Putin with a plan to end the war and launch domestic reforms. We're once again joined by Major General Davidi. Major General, in your assessment, how does Kozak's exit, one of Putin's close circle, suggest cracks here in Putin's inner circle? Or is it a sign of Putin tightening his grip and getting rid of some of the opposition?
Well, first and foremost, Thomas, there is a certain amount of resistance which is not over, but inwardly there are people who are in close circle with Putin who are not in favor of continuing the war for simple reason that Russia is not winning the war. And they are taking very heavy casualties and making practically no gains on the ground. And after all, wars are fought to be won, or wars are fought to have a favorable situation, which is not the case. So therefore, this dissent is quite obvious, and I think it is only tip of the iceberg, because others who also would have such strong feeling may not have come out very openly, but definitely President Putin doesn't tolerate any opposition or any difference of views. So therefore, he would tighten the grip further and see that if anyone who is openly opposed to continuation of war are sidelined. But what I feel is that such a dissent will become more and more obvious, because Russia is not winning the war. They are losing, taking heavy casualties, and fighting a war which you're not losing and you're suffering casualties is not going to be accepted largely either by the public or people who are close to President Putin. Thomas.
Yes, Major General Gigi Davidi, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. Pleasure to have you on. We now move, but stay in Europe, where US President Donald Trump met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer today as part of his second state visit to the United Kingdom, focusing on global issues and the renewal of the quote-unquote special relationship between the two countries. Both have now held talks at Chequers. The talks were centred around a $205 billion investment package with major deals in technology, energy and life sciences, reaffirming deep ties between the US and the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, this is what the US President commented before leaving for Chequers.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, it's a great gentleman and a great king.
We are now once again joined by Mark Sutherland. He is a geopolitical commentator and he joins us live from London. Mark, it is always an absolute pleasure to talk to you here. Let's talk about this investment package, $205 billion investment in the UK, mainly in technology. How does this investment package compare with the past US-UK economic cooperation? Is it enough to anchor the relationship in a post-Brexit era?
Thomas, good to be with you. You've just said a very interesting statement, the post-Brexit era. Just remember, for all your viewers, that Keir Starmer, the present UK Prime Minister, I say that within inverted commas, has been someone that has not respected the Brexit vote that with a majority of people voted for in this country, done whatever he could to reverse that. I'd like to put that on the table for a start. As I've said previously this morning, the relationship between us and America has always been deemed to be beyond profoundly important, because they are the biggest economy in the world. There is no doubt about it that the Prime Minister, the government, the so-called government here, yes, I've just said that, will then make massive hay of this and say, isn't it fantastic? We've brought this particular deal in, It saves, I suppose, the Chancellor going cap in hand like she has previously to China, which raises another load of issues. Any deal that brings money, brings income, brings business into the UK presently is desperately needed. Thomas.
Yes, Mark Sutherland, I do apologise. We have run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. It is a pleasure always to have you on the programme. But we do have more news coming out of that state visit, and it does make headlines in Britain after a day of unprecedented pomp. Many Londoners are sharing their views on the second day of the visit. Let's take a listen in to what some of them had to say.
I think it's less about Trump, more about the relationship between the UK and the US. Ultimately, you know, he's a divisive character, but it's not really about Trump. It's about how we carry on having a good relationship with, obviously, one of the biggest countries in the world. He's here today, he'll be gone tomorrow, figuratively, so we need to keep up.
No, I don't think we should be laying out the red carpet for him. I don't agree with the things that he's saying and doing, and I don't think we should, whilst we have to accept he's a world leader, I don't think we should be doing as much as we are, definitely.
Could you elaborate on why?
Yeah, I just think that with his record, with his convictions and all of those things, I just don't think he should be leading any country, let alone the US, and I just don't think we should be supporting him.
I think with him, he has an agenda which he shares with only a set of minority group of people, but not the whole world in a sense. So it's very tipping the scales on what he wants to do. It's just not helpful for a lot of people.
I get why Keir Starmer is nervous about causing a big rift. It's kind of like Love Actually when Hugh Grant was trying to stand up to the American president. It's kind of like that in real time. So, I mean, I get why he's nervous, but I don't think that it's a good look for us to be pandering to Donald Trump.
We now turn to Southeast Asia, where Thai forces have fired rubber bullets and tear gas during a standoff with Cambodian protesters along the disputed border, injuring at least 23 people, according to Cambodian authorities. The incident occurred in Banteay Meanchey province, with the Thai military claiming they did it in order to make the crowd pull back from the area. This marks the first use of force since the July ceasefire agreement, which followed violent clashes that killed at least 43 people. Both nations have since then accused each other of ceasefire violations, and tensions remain high over the long-standing border dispute. Cambodian officials have condemned the incident as a breach of the ceasefire, while the Thai military insists the action was necessary for security. Meanwhile, Cambodia's leader, Hun Manet, has accused Thailand of blocking more than 20 families from returning to their homes. We are now joined by Dr. Sanjay Kumar. He is a journalist from the Korea Herald, and he joins us live from Seoul in South Korea. Dr. Kumar, always a pleasure to speak to you. How fragile really is this ceasefire deal, Dr. Kumar?
Ceasefire is in place right now also, but it is fragile, as you have just pointed out. It is fragile because it is affecting people-to-people contacts, and reaching out to world leaders, including the ASEAN chairmanship from the Cambodian side, is raising great concerns. And because of these actions and the media portrayal in Cambodia, in the form of expansionism of Thailand, these actions look like can further escalate the matters. And that is why both the sides, I mean the Thai and Cambodian side, must talk through activated diplomatic channel than engaging in this kind of escalatory things. So both sides, right now only Thai side has been trying to control the public movement there. But I think in coming days, if Cambodian side also tries in the same manner, then the further escalations will be looming, which is a great concern.
Yes, Dr. Kumar, do stay with us as we have some further news updates. But this time we move to East Asia, where President Lee Jae-myung has confirmed that South Korea will continue to pursue dialogue with North Korea. In a written address to the Global Korea Forum delivered by Second Deputy Director of the National Security Office, Lee acknowledged that North Korea has not yet responded positively to proposals for resuming contact. He further emphasized that Seoul will remain patient and focus on promoting peace and mutual prosperity on the Korean Peninsula. Since taking office in June, Lee has adopted a different approach from his predecessor, prioritizing engagement over confrontation. His administration has already taken steps to ease military tensions, including turning off loudspeakers at the border and halting propaganda radio broadcast directed at North Korea. Additionally, Seoul plans to review existing inter-Korean agreements to identify items that can be implemented, aiming to create a favorable environment for future talks and cooperation. We are once again joined by Dr. Kumar. We know that South Korea's relatively new president, Lee Jae-myung, wants some dialogue here within the Korean Peninsula. We've cited actions that he is taking, whether that's turning off the loudspeakers, whether that is being vocal about said dialogue. However, Dr. Kumar, is there an appetite within South Korea to have that dialogue with Kim Jong-un's North?
There is an appetite in the Seoul's approach, but Pyongyang looks really not interested. They are very disinterested, and their approach is also very hostile. They have a very icy approach to any kind of dialogue because from North Korean perspective, they know what is going to be on the table when there is an engagement through dialogue. They know that denuclearization is going to be on the agenda and followed by some human rights concerns. And they are not ready to talk in that way. It's a very old issue. Although what is new here in Seoul is that there is a new government and President Lee wants to have some rapprochement style of diplomacy under the umbrella of pragmatic diplomacy, engaging in dialogue and bringing these hostilities to a minimum level. But to me, if you ask me, it is still not bilateral, it is very unilateral, and that is why President Trump can play an important role. This is where euphoria in the South Korea comes from. So that is why recently when there was a summit between President Lee and President Trump, President Lee very positively said that he wants to play a role of pacemaker. So if there is an engagement, and President Trump has already said that he would like to see Kim Jong-un very soon, if possible, he would love to do that. So in that case, yeah, there is an euphoria. There is a good kind of possibility of wishful thinking. But unless North response is on the table, it can be either through China, through US, because the North Koreans are not ready to talk directly with Seoul in any form. So any indirect communication can help to achieve this dialogue. But if you ask me very frank opinion, I would just say that it is a kind of criticism that this kind of softer diplomacy towards North Korea may go backwards because inter-Korean relations have not been in good shape since decades. But in 1991, inter-Korean basic agreement was signed, and that entitles the two countries' bilateral relations as a special relationship. So changing this stance of two-state concept and any perception in that direction may affect many here also in Korea, and there will be a kind of political divide among the ruling as well as the opposition party, because people also in Korea look very divided on this. But yes, long term, everybody wants the unification of Korean Peninsula. But is it feasible? Is it realistic? That remains a big question to all the diplomatic as well as people circle here.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for joining us here on the programme. Pleasure to have you as always. Well, that is all that we have time for, but we will continue to bring you more updates from around the world. Thank you.